Today I will be making the video dedicated entirely to my neighbor Metod Jerman, a police officer here right next door. Then I'm going to also talk about Miran Sudin and the funny guy Andrej Štefanić, the funny man. As you know, these are people employed by the Slovenian police, Miran Sudin by Ministry of Interior practically. And the first video I will dedicate to the neighbor. I will do this in a separate videos. It's related because you're gonna see how related this stuff is. To the neighbor Metod Jerman, this is the man who is just now one house away from our house. So, sitio de novo mesto, and what I will do is I will zoom myself somewhere here like this. Actually, like this. I did demonstrate his home. I plan on getting this job done. This is our home here, right here that you see. And this guy here, this is a Slobodan MILOŠEVIĆ. Right here is this who this guy here is. You know him from the Balkan wars. This is the guy who declared the war on Slovenia. First on the Kosovo, where he was engaging in ethnic cleansing, then into Slovenia, then on Croatia, then on Bosnia, several countries at the same time. Cleansing was also taking place in Vojvodina. Is also Hungarian minority there, which, however, it appears to me they no longer exist, or they don't dare to exist, whatever the case might be. He was involved in a lot of purge and a lot of dirty stuff. Ethnic cleansing was his main thing. And our house here at the Krka, where we moved, where father moved to this location, became his home. This became his residence in Slovenia. Sometimes in, I would say 1984, as soon as we moved to this location, this became his home from Slobodan MILOŠEVIĆ. And the best part about this stuff is that his best friend, and he was more than his best friend. This was his personal confidante, and more than his personal confidante, is Metod Jerman. Such a funny thing, because this guy was so young. That would be he right here in the middle that you see, or let's say this guy here that you see right here, you can see him. This was an investigator, police officer. I understand now he's retired, and this is the man who contributed to Slobodan MILOŠEVIĆ, to the Serbs, so much that Serbia probably could dedicate him a statue over there in the Belgrade, just as big as the one from Slobodan MILOŠEVIќ. He was a kid back then. He was no police officer yet. And what this guy was doing is older than myself. What this guy was doing is he was not making it only possible for the Slobodan Milošević, but he was absolutely exercising and spying on people in Slovenia for Slobodan Milošević, for people around my environment, basically. This was a representative about a few years older than myself, involved in MKLCHA, who was interested in becoming a police officer, and the one who created police officer out of him during MKLCHA sessions, as this one was arriving to our house, to Novo Mesto, and this one here was used by Milan Kučan, by BORUT PAHOR, for trafficking, hijacking. He would travel alongside to Serbia, was none other than Slobodan Milošević. Slobodan Milošević was the one who made the police officer out of this guy here. The one who put this guy into the police academy and made it possible for him to become a police officer was none other than Slobodan Milošević. It was Slobodan Milošević who pressured Milan Kučan to put this guy into police academy. This guy was actually not even qualified as a police officer to attend the police academy because of crime record. He does have a crime record, and this man here, he did have a crime record because he couldn't qualify as a police officer. He was told no. The police told him no. They told him off when he applied as a police officer. And this is the guy who made it possible through negotiations with Milan Kučan. None other than Slobodan Milošević did this stuff here, just that you know. Then in 1990, the war commenced in Yugoslavia. And this guy here played a major role in that war. As crazy as it might sound, he went into the police academy and have witnessed already before that what was known as a drones. The war on the Balkan already was a war of drones. This here, this stuff here. He did not have a capacity to get a hold of them because British and Americans would not allow technology to be revealed. When Americans and British arrived right here to our house, they would use this kind of stuff. They would demonstrate it. Sometimes in 1992, they openly played with it, but the drones already existed already since like 1986. British and Americans played with drones. I can say that this is the military history of the drone. Military police history is the one I'm talking about. This did not start with a war in Azerbaijan, Armenia or something like that, or Ukraine. This is the history of drones I'm talking about right now. And this guy here, because he was deputized by Slobodan Milošević, not even Milan Kučan dared to interfere with this guy. No, but Milan Kučan and Slobodan Milošević was the same thing. I will never forget when Slobodan Milošević talked to Milan Kučan about this issue, about him becoming a police officer. And he did so in front of, I don't know, maybe it was BORUT PAHOR, maybe it was Robert GOLOB, I have no idea who it was, a police, they have a police directors, whoever it was, whoever the people were surrounding them, Slovenian people, Slobodan Milošević started to again instigate in this guy becoming a police officer. And Milan Kučan, this is the guy here, he very agitated was, he was very agitated. Oh, he remembers all this. This guy remembers everything I'm talking about. He remembers absolutely everything I am talking about. And Milan Kučan became very agitated and said, yes, of course, I told you already to do this. And he said, call me this guy and so on. And that's how this guy became a police officer. I'm going to explain to you exactly how this guy became a police officer. And this guy knows exactly what I'm talking about. He can't utter but then confirm. And if he cannot confirm, and the truth must be taken out of him. It is just as simple as this. Because everything stated here is a fact. So this became a personal deputy of the Slobodan Milošević, who played a major role in the Balkan wars in 90s, when the Balkan exploded, barrel of dynamite. Several countries started to republics. Serbia attacked several different republics at the same time, commenced through the ethnic cleansing, killing people to make the bigger land for the Serbs. Slovenia became independent, and sometimes in 1992, Milošević, along the way, as things were moving, Slobodan Milošević became obsessed with the drone warfare. The Serbs became obsessed with the drone warfare and were doing absolutely everything they possibly could to get the drones. Milošević, who learned about the drones through this case, through my case, and he couldn't get close to those drones no matter what he was trying to do. Beginning in 1988, became super agitated. In 1992, he demanded the drones, he demanded the technology for the drones, and apparently the British would not give, they would not give Serbs a drone technology. And you have Milan Kucan and you have BORUT PAHOR together with Robert GOLOB, going totally berserk, totally insane. They did not know what to do to get drones to the Serbs, and they were taking photos, they were using the cameras, and were hiding themselves inside of the forests. As we would walk along the trails and British Americans would be playing with the drones, it became total obsession of taking photos for the sake of Serbia of the drones, so they could supply somehow. Police officers did, which must have looked incredibly idiotic, primitive, total obsession, and anger outbursts at me, frustration after years together with the Luis Peterleto, this guy here, was losing his nerves because he couldn't get hands on drones together with the Janez Janša. And then you fucking tell me that these are not Serbs in Slovenia. This is the stuff that went on. It was the craziest time of life. 1992, 1993, 1994. This was like, these people did not know how to kill me, so they could get attention. They were ready to jump out of the skin because such important toys were advertised right in front of their noses. Americans and British were using drones to make fun of them, basically. Were taking photos. They would not deliver them every time, but whenever they would, and they were explaining everything where the police officers were hiding and so on with the cameras and stuff like that. This was a war of drones. On the Balkans, a big war. Serbia wanted these drones for whatever. And so I believe that, I don't know how much this guy had to do with this kind of stuff, but this became one of the first drone operators in Slovenia. He will explain about how he got a training from the British, the police, and how he spied. He was talking to me about Serbs. Serbs, I believe, got a hold of the drones in 1996. It was through the British, I believe, through the Slovenian side. British did this through the Slovenian side. And this one here claimed that if I will ever tell that he was using a drones in 1998, that he will be in trouble because he did not give the drones to the Serbs. But this is a personal deputy of Slobodan Milošević, this guy here. This guy contributed to a lot of deaths. And in Kosovo and in Croatia and in Bosnia, I did talk about this guy. Now this is the neighbor. His name is Metod Jerman, like I explained, if you ever get interested in this guy. So I thought that this would be really interesting about a little bit about a history of the drones. Now then it became year 2000, all of a sudden everybody had drones. Everybody was playing with the drones. But the years that I stated, the way I explained about, is just exactly the way this stuff was. So this became a major operator, trainer for the drones, specialized into drones. Miran Sudin knows absolutely everything, the stuff I'm talking about, because this was the individual who always was in this stuff, involved in it. But he was also involved in some other stuff pertaining to my father. He was also involved in attempted murder of my father together with Andrej Štefanić, and I will discuss that issue in another video. An issue during which they would train me, drive me insane during MKH, suggesting me that I should not walk too far from home because Miran Sudin was the first one designated to murder my father. They would come from Ljubljana to get your father killed. They literally contemplated on getting my father killed through commute from Ljubljana even. They claimed from the beginning that they had no people in the Novo Mesto, etc., who could do the stuff, crazy stuff like this. They were obviously driving crazy, except that Štefanić was heavily involved in that stuff, and it ended this type of teaching. Yeah, it was a teaching of Andrej Štefanić on how I should not walk away from house too far, because if I do, that will give him a potentially time to arrive to our residence and without my presence do the stuff. So this Štefanić, this funny man Štefanić, he eventually discussed on how my father would be killed. That's not very nice. He did not only discuss about how to kill my father, but also how to kill my mom, that also my mother would be killed during my absence from home, during walking, hiking, etc., etc. Now, so for somebody like Andrej Štefanić to say that he never met Tomasz Napenčnik, or that he did not know, let's say, Miran Sudin since his youth, that's fucking insane, because they together discussed the issues on how to get my father whacked in front of Robert Golob, Milan Kučan, etc., etc. So that departure of mine to Poland in 2018, actually to the Czech Republic, actually, excuse me, to Slovakia first and then to Poland, and finally I ended in the Czech Republic. That father went to the UKC center in Ljubljana. This guy always was present during this. Štefanić's private teachings about stuff that I stated. This somehow doesn't make any fucking sense. There's a lot of lies. These are uniformed police officers. They are deputized by Ministry of Interior in Slovenia. These are exactly as I described. These are the people who whacked my father. These are the people who got my father on surgery into the UKC, and then they started to play with him through issues which mother was used for, through the food issues, through the hospital got him into the home for elderly people. Through the hospital in Novo Mesto got him into home for elderly people. Oh. These people, to so dvoživke. I don't actually find the words for the shit like this, because it lives right next door. He was my friend, my buddy since my earliest childhood, since I was a child. And for him to come up with shit, stuff like this, for these people there to step in my face, just like they don't know nothing about me, like that we never met and so on. It only means that Slovenian state, Slovenian nation did absolutely everything possible they could have done it to hide stuff in which they were implicated. That's how that stuff is done. That's how you get the people that are involved in crime like this, you get them on the scene so that past, present, future somehow blend in it, and you do this after you award the victim with a mental illness certificate like they did with me in 2012. So you practically put the hand over his mouth and you say you crazy, whatever you say, you crazy. Yeah, this is what this stuff is, ladies and gentlemen. Just so that you know who this guy is, what kind of role did he play in Balkan wars, what his relation is not only to Milan Kučan, but also directly to Slobodan Milošević. Slobodan Milošević visited Novo Mesto all the way to 2000, till he was taken down in Belgrade with his bodyguards. If he wasn't making it to the Novo Mesto city, this guy here was making sure that I would be delivered to Milošević to Belgrade. I spent a lot of time jucked up at Milošević, a lot of time jucked up hiking around in Slobodan Milošević's presence right here in Slovenia, right here through this Krka village where they were coming to. Slobodan Milošević was involved in my case since my earliest childhood. Even more than Slobodan Milošević was involved his brother, who immigrated to Russia. So, that being said, there is nothing else actually for me to say. That's his home. Before he built this home, he lived at this residence here, this farm here basically. Had this farm here, and that's now a farm from his brother Cyril Metod. So he built new house for himself, and well, that's all there is to it. This is actually dedicated to the neighbor Metod Jerman. I think worse than this just doesn't get. Oh, he was a personal friend of Arkan. He had extensive list of Serbian Chetnik referrals, if you like. He had friends like this, literally. These were his friends. He would visit Arkan during the ethnic cleansing stuff. I did spoke about this guy. So this guy was not going to, during the Balkan wars, we can say that he heavily participated in. This was a personal spy, personal deputy of Slobodan Milošević. If Slobodan Milošević just had one more than to Milan Kučan, then he had to deliver something. If it was something strictly confidential, everything that was the most confidential between the Serbs and Kučan here, Slovenia, then this was the guy who was used. This is very important. He lived right next door to our home. Extremely disturbing. And he is the cousin of these guys here. That would be who became also a police officer, Zdenko Jerman, and his brother, Tine Jerman. So I thought this is very, very important issue. I would not want somebody to give, you know, it's important stuff that we know that is documented under this case. What the fuck this was about? What this was? What exactly I was running against? What exactly I was dealing with here? That clarifies any kind of doubt about who this guy was, what this guy was doing all along. So this was the most violent guy. He was using, and I told you about, frequently was using a spray, pepper spray, to spray me in the eyes and stuff like this. Metod Jerman was extremely proud about drones. He twisted the story. He was changing the story. He was twisting the story and was lying and lying and lying and trying to make the roadblocks about the roadblocks is like creating fables, stories of his own to prevent one from to go ahead and open his mind and investigate, think about what really went on. Was making all the time even remarks about how he was not absolutely insane, totally insane. The stuff I'm talking about is the police and military warfare, and they covered up this stuff through the brainwash involving and Kotar and Andrei Ul and the neighbor here, Dane Kolens, and actually Kolens and other family over there, all these families from around here, they, Peterlin, all this, they were all involved. This entire village was involved in this shit, and they tried to cover up this then with you know, with entertainment drones. I don't know how to, I don't know much about the drones. I'm not interested in buying drone because it requires money, it requires license and stuff like that. It's out of reach, and honestly, I don't really need drones right now because it's other stuff that I do. So they were flying around during MK Ultra drones around the house. Mother and father became impressed about how they demonstrated how you can record house from up, and you know, it's very tall structure, you know, climbing and stuff. You can't just do that. And so they depicted that like making them a big favor by using this $20, $30 drones and so on. Now they did spend more money on these drones. Who knows how much money they spend on drones, but all the neighbors have drones. There was like a major gig through which they even, this is how I'm talking about the roadblocks. They started to intimidate how you're going to be inside of the house, and there comes a drone is parked to whatever, in whatever room you are, and is used to surveillance, to listen the house, etc., etc. We will be recording you, or you will be jerking off and all kinds of stuff like this. Crazy stuff. Intimidated. You're gonna leave something inside, a window open, drone comes inside, and this and that. You know, stuff. This is what I'm talking about. Stuff that would not make you think about the stuff I was talking about to you today. That's basically those other issues. Slobodan Milošević coming at the court of the Novo Mesto to negotiate my outcome. That kind of stuff. Slobodan Milošević walking around here, trying to get these drones, which the Serbs did get drones. I know that Serbs did get drones. Serbs got the drones in 1996 is where the British got Serbs drones, and they got them through Slovenia. And I'm fucking talking, I'll give you a fucking year. 1996. Yeah, I give you exactly the year, 1996. And I suspect the Serbs got drones even earlier. 1996 it was because of the war in Croatia. Because of the war in Croatia ended, and so it was 1996. But I suspect Serbs got a hold of Jones already sometimes in 1994, maybe something like that, 1990, maybe even in 1993. You have to consider this isn't about the Serbia only. Behind the Serbia was Russia, who other encouraged Serbia into the Balkan wars. 1993, 1994, the latest. I would even say 93, Serbs already had Jones. And so if they start talking about Jones, the use for entertainment, I should say, purposes, amateur, I don't know, photography, those kind of whatever issues, that's totally different. And it comes to the later period. It's like the stuff we're talking about in this video never even happened, never took place. So they did all kinds of stuff, all kinds of stories, entertain and all kinds of stuff and threaten and all kinds of stuff, so that you get, you know, they erase your brain pretty well, and they doubt the memories that you have. They openly challenge the memories. Any memories that could be potential threat for them that I could recall. MKH, it's all about interrogation. MKH is nothing other than interrogation. They interrogate all the time. They ask all the time. It's interrogation all the time. That's what MKH is, for them to see what exactly you remember, and based on what you remember, they contemplate on crime. It's a brutal business. As you see, police gets information about what I recall, what I remember right here like this from the blog. And they don't even bother to research this stuff, to investigate this stuff. Instead, it's other stuff that took place. So this is I am not going to talk about this issue, but I thought that this is important. During hiking, during the walking with the police, they intimidated people that would approach. They intimidated with a drone. They were, when people would approach, it will always be a police officer whom this guy was training the whole team of people that work with him. They had people with drones always positioned inside of the forest, maybe a kilometer away or whatever, maybe even 2 kilometers away. I remember when the range, the distance extended. First it was like, I don't know, 500 meters. They had to walk behind us and stuff like that with the drone. And then that distance expanded to kilometer and a half, 3 kilometers. And then they claimed they have drones that, yeah, I did not even understand what the fuck they were talking about. With drones, they could go and video record all the way as we walk in entire area. I don't know. It makes no fucking sense. You're talking about the drones that would stay up in the air for several hours, 4, 5, 6 hours, and so on. Who the hell would go and believe that kind of stuff existed? People would approach, they would use drones to literally stalk people at home, wherever they went. They would use the drones to take information, their license plates, and literally stalk people inside of their homes to see exactly what house. If you would not give them information, police would use drone to literally stalk. Yeah, garbage from Novo Mesto police station with Miran Sudin, who was coming from Ljubljana. Miran Sudin was one of the trainers for the terrorist activities, Slovenian police terrorist activities. They called them anti-terrorists, but we are clearly talking about the terrorism here. We're clearly talking about a state-sponsored terrorism, domestic terrorism. Not only would they stalk people at home, they started to make statements on Metod Jerman. made statements during which he suggested that during police surveillance, yeah, I got impression they have drones 24/7 up in the air. Had a garbage from Novo Mesto police station that referred to itself as investigators gesturing with Metod Jerman that they already managed to even prevent crimes from happening. I don't know, homicides, fights, that they were able to observe the area, and there were fights and stuff like this, and they managed to arrive with the police before those fights could end, saving people here on the Slotnik, Smolinia Gora, and so on. This is what Metod Jerman has a whole lot to explain about this, together with Miran Sudin, about these drones, the obsession with the drones, with the total surveillance of the area, with the police drones. Not this area only, but area of Trška Gora, area of Novo Mesto. This became a total fucking obsession. Play with the drones and with this infrared, with night vision cameras, thermal cameras, drone cameras. So that would be interesting to learn about this stuff from the garbage barricaded now inside of the Novo Mesto police station. They don't come around no more since 2020 about what they have to say about that kind of stuff, because this is not schizophrenia, this is not imagination or anything like that. Metod Jerman, how can I say, he's got a lot of explaining to do about this stuff. Very difficult it was to trace. Today I was thinking about Slobodan Milošević, Metod Jerman, and drones. And what a way to recall everything about this guy, practically his entire life, before he even became a police officer. He was not qualified as a police officer. Metod Jerman was told twice to fuck off by the police. He was not accepted by the police. He was twice, no less. Twice he was rejected by the police. It was Slobodan Milošević who made it possible for him to go into the police academy. Police had extensive record. That record needed to be storniered, destroyed, wiped out, deleted, so that this man could become a police officer. It's ultimate garbage that was involved in this case. So we couldn't do it a nice way, and then we're going to do it like this.